We start tonight with the Chancellor's sombre warning about the prospects for the UK economy in the wake of the pandemic. Rishi Sunak says it's not obvious there will be an immediate bounce back once lockdown restrictions are eased more fully, and it could take some time for the economy, he says, to get back to normal. His warning came as the latest figure showed the number of people claiming benefits for being out of work had soared in April, the first full month of the lockdown, to its highest level since the 1990s. The Office for National Statistics says 2.1 million people claimed benefits last month. That's up by more than 856,000, and it's a rise of almost 70% and the clearest sign yet of the continuing economic cost of the pandemic. The total number of registered deaths linked to coronavirus in the last 24-hour period was 545, and it means that the official total across the UK now stands at 35,341. Now, in a moment, we'll have more on the loss of life, especially in care homes. But first, our economics editor, Faisal Islam, looks at the rather mixed picture for the economy.
They aren't cutting jobs at this West Midlands fittings factory for shops and libraries, just like the official jobs numbers. But only 12 workers, a third of employees, are manufacturing the now in-demand protective screens. The other 26 workers remain on the payroll, officially employed, but at home with wages paid by the taxpayer.
When you look at the alternatives, which is like redundancy or being laid off, then being furloughed is a really good thing. It gives the business an opportunity to carry on with its workforce.
The boss is grateful and unemployment has been kept down.
The furlough scheme has really worked well for us, and if it wasn't for that, I don't know where we would be.
The government's crisis job schemes have concentrated tens of billions into controlling unemployment, but official jobs numbers will soon catch up with the pandemic crisis reality all around us. And other figures today did show how hard the jobs market has been hit. The 865,000 extra people claiming jobless benefits in April was a record monthly increase, taking the claimant counts for job seekers' allowance and universal credit to 2.1 million, the highest for 24 years, in some regions nearly doubling. Emma had been furloughed, but last week was told she'd lost her job as an office worker at an Essex construction firm and is finding getting a new one difficult.
To be receiving a letter to say that I've been selected to be redundant is awful, petrifying. Sorry, I can't help but get emotional about that because thinking about it.
The number of job vacancies tumbled by a quarterly record to 637,000, so it will be harder to get a job too.
I tried searching for jobs. I've applied for tens, if not hundreds, of positions online, but due to being an office worker, there's no offices open, there's no interviews being taken at the moment. It's a struggle to try and find something.
Across the economy, thousands of jobs that were furloughed, for example at the Café Rouge restaurant chain, are now under threat. Hundreds have been lost at retailer Debenhams, and also in the transport sector at British Airways and at the ferry company P&O. Benefit numbers are surging and vacancies are tumbling. Just how far unemployment will shoot up is for now being limited by the government paying the wages of 1 in 3 workers. That is a bridge for the livelihoods of 10 million people that will not last. And now, the Chancellor, whose schemes are built around the idea of a rapid bounce back in the economy, says that it's not obvious that that will occur. So a significant rise in unemployment can't now be avoided, says the government.
I certainly won't be able to protect every job and every business. We're already seeing that in the data, and no doubt there will be more hardship to come. This lockdown is having a very significant impact on our economy. We are likely to face a severe recession, the likes of which we haven't seen.
But the opposition said more is needed, especially for younger workers.
We still have to be aware that the costs tend to fall on younger people, not just because people who have lost their jobs, but because they haven't been able to move into the workforce to begin with.
The pandemic has caused a global jobs catastrophe. Even when lockdowns are lifted, it's when this support is withdrawn that the real picture will emerge. Faisal Islam, BBC News.
Well, as we've heard, part of the economic impact of the pandemic is a sharp rise in the number of those claiming universal credit. That's the relatively new benefit for working-age people in the UK. For some who are now looking for work, it's the first time that they've had to make a claim and to experience this new system, as our social affairs correspondent Michael Buchanan reports.
Can I just confirm, what was your first job?
Another job loss, another person in need.
You would have been asked for 2 security questions.
Over the past few weeks, Leslie Piercy has spoken to just about everyone.
Uber drivers, lots of restaurants, lots of businesses, shopkeepers and cafes, and a lot of taxi drivers.
Some have lost minimum wage jobs, others 6-figure salaries.
A lot of the people, like the stockbrokers and that, want to go back into stockbroking because it is specifically, well, it's quite a high-paid job, but some of those people are having to rethink their careers as well. One particular gentleman that I had, he had a very, very well-paid job, so did his wife, and he went to become a night porter at a hotel.
Leslie works at a job centre in Hertfordshire, normally that process 60 benefit claims a week. Recently, they've been dealing with several thousand.
So that's me found you on our system.
Helen Collier has only worked here for 3 months, forced immediately to help the unfamiliar navigate the benefit system.
I definitely think the people that have been made redundant and they've been long-standing employees are often confused. They've never made a claim to anything before, so they're always the hardest, but I feel like they're the ones that you know that you're doing something good to help them.
There are usually around 50,000 claims a week for universal credit, but look at the impact of the lockdown. For 2 weeks, claims were running at 10 times normal levels, 1.5 million applications in total in just 1 month.
My mindset has never been to go on benefits. I've just struggled and worked my way through it.
Carl Elliston is a boxing coach who has no one to train. Unable to earn, the 50-year-old turned to universal credit for help, the first time he's been on benefits in decades.
For me, there was no option, and so I don't feel guilty about it. I feel that I'm eligible for it, and I'm working my way out sincerely how to get out of it when everything's over.
Today's data revealed the largest rise in applications had been in the southwest of England, where the area's crucial tourist industry has been badly hit. An all-hands-on-deck approach has allowed universal credit to cope with the surge in demand. Most claimants have been thankful, hoping the welfare system is a helping hand in a time of need, not a permanent, harder way of living. Michael Buchanan, BBC News.
Let's draw some of this together with our economics editor, Faisal Islam, and go back to what the Chancellor was saying today, Faisal. Now, in your view, to what extent has he changed his tune, really, on the prospects for the economy after the lockdown is relaxed more fully?
Yeah, but the language has strengthened since last week. The word severe recession was what he used to Lords today, and he said it was not obvious that there would be a sharp bounce back, and he said he wouldn't speculate on that last week. And I think what you get is perhaps what is obvious to many people, that things have changed hugely in the economy. And essentially you have 2 unprecedented forces at work here. You have the pandemic, the shutdowns, the global recession, a global jobs catastrophe on the one hand. Then you have these unprecedented for Britain moves by the government to pay people's wages, tens of billions of pounds, 10 million wages being paid right now by the government. So it's quite difficult to work out exactly how those 2 forces shake out. But I think what you can take away from what the Chancellor said and from the figures today is the expectations of that sharp bounce back, which had to be assumed at the beginning, are beginning to diminish. And certainly in some industries, when the lockdowns are lifted, the recovery won't be in days or weeks. For some industries, it will be more like months or years.
Faisal, again, thanks very much. Faisal Islam there, our economics editor.